God, I hate clowns. I'm not even sure clowns like clowns.
The dialogue in Baldur's Gate 3, like any other RPG, can be very entertaining. However, some of the dialogue in Baldur's Gate 3 can really be over the top, so much that I'm pretty sure more people play the game just for the dialogue rather than any of the RPG mechanics. Christmas is about a month away, so I thought I'd go ahead and bless you with the gift of the absolute insanity that is the Baldur's Gate 3 dialogue. But not just any dialogue, but some of the best dialogue in the entire game, in my own subjective opinion. Of course, feel free to let me know your favorite dialogue moments, but for this video, I will briefly explain what I like about it, the conditions required for how to trigger the specific dialogue, and then I will play the dialogue for you so you can experience it in all of its glory. And some of these scenes are even really well hidden. Up first is that you can get Lae'zel to admit that she misses your company. You do this by bringing Lae'zel to the mountain pass, where she will want to talk to you about the monastery, and you can tell her to stay put and wait for you to come back. When you talk to her again, she will start to say something, then say never mind, and passing a persuasion check will get her to admit that she misses you when you are away.
So you've seen reason. Truth be told, never mind. Come with me, and let us be purified. No. I'm glad you came back, all right? Now let's move before this discussion turns maudlin. Come then. Every moment counts.
The best part of this rare endearing moment with Lae'zel is that Shadowheart disapproves. Shart is so petty and I absolutely love it. Next up, we have a little fourth wall break from Minsc. I personally think Minsc is a very annoying companion, but there is one moment that I actually find him pretty entertaining. There is a quest marker in Rivington that has you meet with Raphael and strike a deal with the one pump chump. However, you can actually skip this quest entirely and make your way down to the lower city. On the southernmost side of the map, you can find a bank, and down inside the vault, you will run into Minsc, which will start a side quest for you to chase him down, and you'll need Jaheira in your party in order to spare and recruit him. Recruiting Minsc before speaking with Raphael offers some unique dialogue. If you agree to work with Raphael and sign his contract, you can talk to Minsc and he will actually break the fourth wall, mentioning names such as Shadowheart and Tav, and how they are stupid and obviously fake names.
Everyone knows that a devil binds you by your name. Unless you used a false name, You did, didn't you? Do not tell me Minsc will guess. Something foolish like... Shadowheart? No. Serets? No, that was the name of the tavern. Tavern? Tav! No, you are right, Boo. That is a stupid, stupid name.
I find Minsc calling out those two names specifically to be pretty humorous, as Shadowheart is indeed a fake name, as her real name is Genevieve, and Tav being the default placeholder name for the player character, which I believe was derived from a dog. But let's move on. Gale is easily one of my favorite companions, and I think he gets way too much hate. Gale easily has some of the funniest lines of dialogue in the entire game. Once you make your way down to Shar's Gauntlet, you can make your way to the top right of the map, where you will find some mysterious spider meat. Interacting with it allows you to lick the mysterious spider meat, which causes your companions to question your decisions. Gale specifically is very annoyed by your decision to do something so stupid, and makes a joke about splitting ways.
If what is happening is what I think is happening, and it's because you licked a dead spider, the time might just have come when you and I should split ways.
But if you happen to fail the constitution check upon licking the spider meat, you will get a completely different dialogue with Gale, where he claims you have unresolved childhood trauma that probably needs addressing and straight up tells you to go touch some grass.
You licked a dead spider. Dead spider. You licked it. That is something that happened. I think we need to get you some air and perhaps have a long talk about unresolved childhood issues.
Regardless of the constitution check, licking the spider meat a second time causes Gale to have an annoyance-induced outburst, which is pretty rare to see for our favorite calm-minded and optimistic wizard.
Stop licking the damn thing!
There's an establishment at Worm Crossing in Act 3 called the Sheress's Caress, where you can find 2 drow prostitutes. These drow twins in their entirety are some of my favorite interactions in the entire game. Soren is the more experienced of the 2, and he offers a variety of different services in the coital department. You can ask him to pretend to be a famous person, where his reaction implies that a lot of people ask him to roleplay as this person.
Not again. I mean, of course.
You can ask him to perform his signature move called the something something love trick, where he will cast the enlarge spell on himself, if you're smelling what I'm baking.
Let's just say, it's not only Dwergar who can enlarge themselves. Incrementum incredibili. I will excavate the very depths of your Underdark.
As the night dances on, he ravages you.
You can also ask him for missionary with the lights off, where he says you have just brought him a brand new fetish that he has never had to perform ever in his entire life.
Oh. You filthy thing. You have surprised me. Most people come in here with, let me stuff all of your hair into my favorite orifice, or I can't come unless you use your deep gnome voice. I'm numbed to all the depravities I conduct on a daily basis, but boring sex? That's a new fetish entirely.
Then you can request him to do it like you've been married for 10 years, which I gotta say is pretty funny.
I will do my best not to last more than 2 minutes for you, dearest.
You engage in a tepid night of the most memorable, unremarkable sex. The drow seems to have the time of his life.
Nim, on the other hand, is much less experienced than her brother, and will give you more sincere interactions, more specifically designed for the Gooners to get off, rather than for some comical relief. Also, she's pretty hot, but if you bring your entire party up to her room with you, she will tell you that you're not a traveling hero, but rather a loser who pays for sex, or something along those lines. I really wasn't listening to anything she said. I was, distracted.
You paid for sex.
If you approach the Drow twins with your current lover, Nim will offer you a special foursome with her brother and your lover. Whether or not your lover agrees depends on who you have romanced, and whether or not you have had sex with them yet. For example, Shadowheart will refuse the offer if you haven't built sandcastles with her yet, but will enthusiastically agree if you have. Visiting a Drow brothel is like a box of chocolates. You'll never know what you're gonna get. The next dialogue scene is actually you, the player character, having a public organism. Once you make your way into the House of Hope, you will run into Harlip, Raphael's personal incubus that transforms into Raphael because Raphael only ever wants to have sex with himself. Harlip will ask you to play a game, and all you have to do is strip and let Harlip have his way with you so he can use your perfect body to engage in premarital activities down in the House of Hope, but claims that every time he uses your body, you will feel it. Once you leave the House of Hope, while walking around Baldur's Gate, you will randomly be stopped by a feeling of pleasure. You can even let yourself audibly express your pleasurable sensations, which causes your companions to react in a variety of different ways.
You must find the city very appealing to be making those sorts of noises out in public.
Like I said earlier, I think Gale gets a really bad rap. Gale is honestly really optimistic, the kind of guy who goes out on an adventure just for the sake of the adventure itself. Once you reach the final part of Act 3 and reach the lower city, you can head over to the clothing store to browse a variety of different clothing items. But if you purchase one of the bondage undergarments, then approach Gale while sporting nothing but the bondage attire, Gale will comment on your choice of apparel, and have possibly the most embarrassing Freudian slip I have ever seen.
You look comfortable, a mite overexposed, given the perils of our adventure, but I suppose it adds a thrilling edge to leave oneself open to danger and other things. I assume your choice of apparel isn't the subject of the day? What's on your mind?
I mean, if Alfera the Tiefling Bard approached me in bondage like this, I would probably have trouble collecting my thoughts as well. Next up is the scene where you bring Astarion to the circus. Let me tell you, Act 3 Astarion is so much cooler than Act 1 Astarion. When you visit the circus and approach Dribbles the clown, the fake one anyway, you will get a scene with your companions that is pretty entertaining no matter who is with you. But Astarion's dialogue here is where things really shine. When you approach Dribbles with Astarion, he opens up with probably the most based line in the entire game.
Because with him, anything is possible. Way!
Good puns. Because clowns aren't enough of a horror already.
Dribbles will then ask you to volunteer for his performance, and you'll be able to make a counteroffer and volunteer any of your present companions instead, which again is pretty entertaining no matter who it is. Astarion, on the other hand, is again the star of the show.
What? No. Don't you dare. This isn't funny.
Oh, my heart!
Of course! What fun! I'm going to fucking kill you.
Afterwards, a fight with Dribbles will break out, and that is that. What is really funny about these scenes is that your companions' approvals vary depending on who you volunteer. Some companions will approve of you tormenting certain companions, but every companion you volunteer will disapprove of you tormenting them, except for Karlach. She oddly enough approves of this. Once you reach Rivington in Act 3, you'll come across a slutty dryad who will tell you to bring her the one you love, and offer to test you to see if your love is eternal or eternally doomed. Now for this specific scene, I will be bringing God's favorite princess. Once the love test begins, the Dryad will ask you 3 questions about your lover, and ideally you'll want to provide the correct answers based on what you know about them. However, at least in Shadowheart's case, it's much more amusing to select the wrong and most idiotic answers imaginable.
From where does Shadowheart draw comfort on a cold, dark night?
I see. Are you sure you don't want to quit while you're behind?
How does one earn the dark-haired maiden's respect?
I would never.
What is her deepest shame?
Hardly. My association with you might be a contender after that attempt. I suppose I should be grateful. You helped me shed any illusions that you might have been paying attention.
Now I personally find the answer to how to earn Shadowheart's respect, farting on a Saloonite, to be even funnier when you realize that she is actually a Saloonite. Besides, they don't call her Shart for nothing. But speaking of Shadowheart and blatant incorrect answers to simple questions, next involves killing Gale. I know, you shouldn't kill Gale. However, if you manage to kill Gale, an astral projection of him will appear before you and give you very convoluted instructions on how to revive him. Otherwise, in 2 days, his body will explode and kill everyone. Astro Gale will then ask you to repeat the instructions back to him, and choosing the wrong answers will cause some pretty funny reactions from your companions. But Shadowheart's reactions are particularly entertaining.
Now repeat my instructions back to me, please.
Purple seam, you donkey.
The purple seam indeed. You then have access to the letter and the flute. Continue.
Did you listen at all? Bottom right.
Quite right. You start at the bottom right corner and remember to play them clockwise. After that,
Come on, you're just guessing now. It's Kashi Trachash.
listen to your friend. It's Kasi Trach Ash.
I don't know what it is about Shart, but I just love making her mad. Finally, we have one of Astarion's most iconic voice lines in Baldur's Gate 3. This one is triggered only under very specific circumstances like Gale's Freudian slip. First, you'll need to bring Astarion with you to the Githyanki Creche in the Mountain Pass. You'll want to head down into the Inquisitor's battle area, and then make a left turn and solve the puzzle by rotating the statues 3 times. This will begin the quest to steal the Blood of Lathander, which you would normally do with a crest item, but if you do it without the crest, you will actually set off a trap and only have a few turns to escape before the monastery is reduced to rubble. If you leave Astarion behind, and then use Withers to revive him, you can talk to him to get his reaction to what just happened.
What in the sweet hells were you thinking? Activating that lance? I was right there! Gods! Do you have any idea how much that hurt? Next time. No. If there is a next time, I'll be the one aiming the all-powerful weapon. Thank you. Well, apparently there's a limit. Somewhere between a nice summer's day and the full concentrated power of the sun!
I'll admit, when I first played Baldur's Gate 3, I was not a fan of Astarion at all. In fact, I'm still not a fan of Astarion throughout the entirety of Act 1. It seems that any choice I make throughout the first act of the game that doesn't involve brutally murdering an innocent tiefling, Astarion will disapprove. But I gotta say, this scene is the embodiment of a sassy vampire, and I absolutely love it. Anyways, that was my list for the top 10 best dialogue scenes in Baldur's Gate 3. Feel free to let me know which scenes of dialogue are your favorite down in the comments, and if you want to see more RPG related content, then make sure you subscribe so you don't miss the next video.